Hello everybody and welcome to our presentation of environmental factors on crime. My name is Josh and I'll be taking you through the presentation today. The goal of this presentation is to better educate the department on the effects of different environmental factors on crime and criminal behavior. Today we'll be covering four main factors that influence crime and criminal behavior: family, unstable neighborhoods, media and technology, and weather. Family is one of the most influential factors on children growing up. Before school, family is the one constant that is experienced daily by children. Children learn from their parents. This is true in both single and multi-parent families. One of the biggest influence on parents and their behavior is economic struggle. Economic hardships lead to pressure. That pressure can lead to distressed behavior. Children pick up on this behavior and develop emotional and behavioral problems. Extended families also influence the family environment overall. Children who have brothers or sisters that commit criminal activities also have a higher likelihood of wanting to be just like them. The family environment can be a toxic place and a breeding ground for crime if adults in the family do not set proper standards. This slide shows an image from the National Center for Biotechnology Information Search database on how the progression of the family environment's negativity impacts children. It begins with economic hardship, which results in pressure. This pressure leads to emotional and behavioral problems, which disrupt the family relationships. The overall impact of this arc is the development of behavioral and emotional issues in children. Neighborhoods that are disorganized are also environments that are conducive to crime. Where the family environment is more localized and can be isolated, disorganized neighborhoods can have a widespread effect. Residential locations closer to high crime areas, like liquor stores and known drug trafficking areas, will likely have individuals fall victim to a life of crime. These environments have two major effects relating to violent behavior in adolescents who grow up in poor, disorganized neighborhoods. The first is when it comes time to make the transition into adulthood, there are limited opportunities for employment, which reduces the chance of marriage. Secondly, there is evidence that growing up in poor, disorganized neighborhoods inhibits the normal course of adolescent development. Here we have some statistics that accurately reflect a real example of what a disorganized neighborhood looks like. The household income, absent students, and vacant properties all point to the scariest statistic at the bottom. That's 23 violent crimes for every 1,000 people in the community. And this is a snapshot of a community in Baltimore, Maryland. One influence that affects both adolescents and adults alike is media. Media and technology are both integrated parts of all societies. At younger and younger ages now, children are learning to use different types of technologies. On average, 8 to 18-year-olds use media actively for 6 hours and 21 minutes of every day. often using multiple media at the same time. The lack of in-person social interaction can lead to antisocial behavior. If people do not know how to interact with one another, conflict is bound to happen. With the rise of social media platforms and on-demand services, actual human interaction is becoming less and less mandatory. Media in the form of news also creates environments that are more susceptible and fearful of crime. Take the Columbine mass murder in 1999, for example. Yes, there had been mass murders before that shooting, and yes, there were mass shootings afterwards. This was the first instance of a shooting in an era where the internet was starting to come into every household, and 24/7 news stations were in abundance. The coverage that this shooting got led others who had similar ideas and plans to know that the shootings of this scale were possible with the right planning and conditions. This is a chart from the LA Times that highlights just how many deaths have occurred from mass shootings in the age of media and technology. You can see a steady trend of more and more aggressive behavior as the years go on and media is more and more widespread. Temperature is the last major environmental factor that we'll be discussing today. It's long been known that temperature directly relates to increases in violent behavior in jails and prisons. But how does that relate to the real world? A 7-year study in Dallas aimed to track violent crimes such as homicides, assaults, and sexual assaults. The results clearly showed a relationship between the increase in temperature and the number of daily violent crimes. It's important to note that the temperature change doesn't just drive normal people to the point of crime. Individuals who fit into different criminal behavioral theories, who'd already most likely thought about committing the crimes, might have committed them anyway. But the data does point to a relationship between increases in temperature and increases in violent crime. Here are the results of that Dallas research over time. There's an extremely clear upward trend in crime up to the 90-degree mark. I guess at some point it even gets too hot for serious criminals to go out and commit crimes. Alright, I want to thank you all for attending the presentation today. Again, the goal was to better educate you on some of the environmental influences that affect crime and criminal behavior. We'll have all this information available to you in slide form, and everyone will get a digital copy. Hopefully you all have a better understanding of the effects of family, neighborhoods, media, and weather on environments and how that relates to crime. This information should help in developing new and innovative ways to better serve our community.